Hey, JulesBlessedVegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. So yesterday, I actually was talking about the COVID and countries struggling and things like that. But what I realized was that the icon I was referencing was from Charlie Brown, who of course is Schultz, right? He's so amazing. And he has such beautiful thoughts which come out awkwardly profound from these little kids in the Charlie Brown series. And so it says, the most beautiful way to start and end a day is with a grateful heart, which was the one for yesterday. And I didn't end up putting that as the icon. I'm not sure why. I may go back in there and fix it. But I am going to do 7 days of Charlie Brown. Part of the reason is because I am swamped right now. So I'm trying to get things done before my husband's surgery. My husband Dale's going to have kind of an involved surgery, because it turned out that, 35 years ago when he had an emergency appendectomy, right, for appendicitis, they did not sew it up properly. It resulted in years of a hernia trying to break its way out, which maxed out rather recently. And so they're going to actually go in and repair both, which of course involves scar tissue and mesh and all those fun things. So my goal is to be completely available to him, and that means getting done a lot of pre-things to allow for next week to just be for him. But I like to be accountable to JBV, my JulesBlessedVegan community. And so I thought it'd be fun to just reflect on Charlie Brown and see what we can learn from those little kids. They're just so cute. All right, and I think they're all excellent, and I will indeed use them as the icon so you can reflect on it. I love this one, Charles Schultz, so smart. So it says, life isn't meant to be easy, it's meant to be lived. Sometimes happy, other times rough, but with every up and down, you learn lessons that make you strong. So my immediate thought is ideally. Ideally, with every up and down, you learn lessons that make you strong. Some people don't, and that goes back to the first part where life isn't meant to be easy, it's meant to be lived. A lot of people are so busy protecting themselves from taking a risk, from screwing up by, disappointing someone, that they don't even live, right? They don't even live. And ideally, from those lessons, you will be strengthened. Ideally, from whatever life brings your way, you won't ever see it as a failure. Ever see it as a failure. Wouldn't that be so beautiful? If we really only saw the outcome as a learning opportunity, every single outcome was a celebration, that we even went for it, that we even participated, that we even showed up. And then an opportunity to do different next time, to do the same next time, but on a greater level. I think sometimes those things strengthen us. I don't know, it's just so interesting. There's no doubt that strength is derived from what we actually go through rather than what we avoid, right? There's no growth in avoidance. So if we take that chance, there's strength. I think one thing that comes to mind, if you've been watching the Olympics, and Simone Biles, who's so amazing, and she's really considered the top gymnast of all time, right? She has like 21 golds, like more awards than anyone in all time. And you might think, well, wait, she's only been in one Olympics, and didn't she only win 5? How does she have all those golds? Because you can actually win golds in lesser meets. They're called a meet, right? So you can definitely win them in, I can't even think what they're all called, but the U.S. championships, they have a bunch. There's a bunch. So anyway, she has a ton of them. But she thought she was being super strong, by being the top gymnast, by getting out there and taking the risk, by what she felt was holding the weight of the world on her shoulders. And for me, that's how my husband is. My husband Dale, we'll be having a breakdown, and I'm like, dude, you do know there's a God, right? And that he's greater than both of us, and that he never sleeps so that we can. And I assure you, if you dare to release the weight of the world, it's going to continue. It was going before we came, it'll be here after, unless Jesus comes first, which I welcome. Come on, Jesus, you can do it. But anyway, yeah. So Simone was so stressed and freaking out. And, at first they said it was an injury. Then they admitted that it was a mental illness situation, which of course people just go, ooh, mental illness. Well, I'm sorry that that's the terminology, but it just means to literally be struggling mentally in that moment, and an illness in the sense that you just can't function the way that you prefer, right? But there's such a stigma to it. And she was thinking she would be perceived as very weak, letting her team down, quitting when they were going to do the team all around. And instead, an entire new audience, right? So first there were all those who loved her for her physical strength. Now there's an equal, if not more, number of people around the entire world who are giving her a shout out for her emotional strength, for having the courage to say, this doesn't work for me, for recognizing that at 24 years old, you only live once, and that life will not be lovely if you don't get the tools that you need, right? And I was right around that age as well, when I first started really struggling. I had already been self-medicating and stuff from what was referred to as manic depression, which is now the somewhat trendy bipolar. But the whole point of it was that it's these amazing up and downs, and it can be proven that there's a chemical imbalance by actually drawing your blood. And it's something that runs in my family on both sides, but it's a total hit and miss, right? One cousin, one uncle, one aunt, like a total hit and miss, which is really a blessing, because could you imagine if the whole family was suffering? But anyway, all of a sudden, she's being recognized as strong for an entire different reason. How about the beauty of the strength of caring for ourselves, right? I mentioned that I'm in the Tanny Raw Reset, and Tanny Raw is a health advocate on every platform for health, social media platform for health. And she has what's called the Raw Reset, and it's literally when tools are given mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally to address the entire person, to better understand why we respond to food the way we do, and to get on with the better way. And again, in my search, you can put in Tanny Raw Reset, and I have a whole overview. And of course, I mention her often because I'm in awe of her personal story and how she found strength in a very difficult time. And like most of us, for as long as you're on the planet, you have to find strength again and again, right? In each situation. We have to build it up in each situation. So this is just the cutest little icon to me, that his best friend Snoopy is protecting his head by wearing his doghouse. And that Chuck, because I often call him Chuck, has his umbrella. And life isn't meant to be easy, it's meant to be lived. May I always have the grace to take that leap of faith. And because of my 10 older brothers and sisters, I was always pushed beyond my comfort zone, whether it was jumping off a 10-foot, well, the diving board, but like 10 feet up on the diving board at 3 years old, to jumping into the ocean off the pier, at 8 years old, to swimming 3/4 of a mile to 3 Mile Island, like so many things, riding a horse and being thrown from it, at 10 years old, skiing, like so many things. Oh my gosh. I always put myself down, unfortunately. I just never felt like I was measuring up because they were all older. I later realized that my next sister was only 14 months older, but because of the way it played, she was 2 grades ahead of me. So there were many experiences that they were all having that always made me feel inferior because I hadn't grown enough yet. I hadn't experienced it yet. I wasn't in the grade level that they were in when they mastered whatever it was, right? But later I realized that I was actually well ahead of many people in my grade because of the experiences that I had. And I rejoice to no end for that. And of course, I've had so many struggles. And one of my ongoing challenges is just surrounding food in particular. But praise God, in these last couple of years, I found a new way to eat. In many ways, I'm starting to master that. I'm choosing it, for myself. I'm able to be strong in that moment and say, yeah, not today, Satan. Thank you. This will not be my downfall today. So I really appreciate this. I've always lived life to the full, but wasn't always comfortable doing it. Sometimes it's because either it was God's intention to pull me into a situation before I felt capable, family members pushing, or someone by grace seeing that I was, more competent than I recognized and having me participate. So I've always lived perfectly imperfect, uncomfortable or not. And yeah, sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, happy or rough, but it's always a chance to strengthen my resolve, whatever that is, whatever that is. And I consider myself at the halfway point of my life, and I have so many great more challenges to come. And through God, I ask for the strength and want to take that risk every single time. So thank you, Charlie Brown, a precious little Snoopy. One more time. Life isn't meant to be easy, it's meant to be lived. Sometimes happy, other times rough. But with every up and down, you learn lessons that make you strong. Like if you like, join us if you haven't subscribed. Let me know in the comments below how I may support you. And until we talk again, best of all, trust that you're blessed.